It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Hey, it's that time for your weekly cup of coffee. And good news, look who's back, Uncle Chris.
That's
back
right.
from the Sunshine
Do I have a
State.
tan?
Yeah, you're looking good, buddy.
That'd be shocking because I tried to stay out of the sun.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and we're rocking our new Gallup Map exclusive Lake of the Ozarks swag, courtesy of our good buddy Kevin Hornick. What a guy.
Shows off my man boobs.
You are ridiculous. These are awesome. Very, very cool. Great gift. We'll tell you more about those throughout this season, but we're really excited about this week's show. Uncle Chris is back. We're going to talk local elections.
Yeah.
And presiding commissioner for Camden County, of course, the incumbent, Ike Skelton. We've heard of one challenger, but there's now two challengers, so a lot on that primary election coming up as well.
Yeah, and all that's coming pretty fast, too.
Right, just 6 weeks away from municipal election. We're also going to talk about, hey, big news. Camden County, City of Camdenton, say they're partnering with MoDOT to help fund the Highway 54 project.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Still some things to be determined there. We got some great local events and a couple of Camdenton Lakers as juniors top 1,000 points. That and a whole lot more on this week's Cup of Coffee.
Hey everybody, it's Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. Did you miss the President's Day big sales? Well, don't worry, we've got you covered. We're going to run them all month long. Not only are you going to get sale prices, we're doing 0% interest financing for up to 36 months. You need to come check out all the great deals at Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
A cup of coffee as we wake up, in the car, or right here on Lake TV with Will and Chris. Kind of like driving, we do it every single day.
But we shouldn't do it while distracted. Did you know that drivers who text are 23 times more likely to be in a crash? So keep your eyes on the road and always remember to buckle up and put your phones down.
This Drive Safe, Boat Safe message brought to you by Price and Randall Injury Attorneys.
Now back to your cup of coffee with Will and Chris.
All right, we got to start out first and foremost, like USA, baby.
Yeah, baby. How about that hockey game? That was so great.
Yeah, you guys saw last week. I had my hockey jersey. It didn't smell good enough to wear again today.
I'm glad you left it at home.
And we were gifted these new shirts.
Yeah,
awesome. These
love
Gallup Map, really, really cool. And they just launched one in black, which probably would have been better for me, more trimming.
Yeah, me too.
So different options, really cool. Go check out the Gallup Map Company, Pat Carroll, and of course, Kevin Hornick. What a guy.
Love that guy.
Sending that. And as we get started, we were greeted with our good friend Kathy Hickle this week, who's here at Slumberland. Got to meet her. What an honor that was. So really thankful for Kathy being here and supporting. And then as we get into like our local headlines, we have an action-packed show. We're going to start with our local lake elections, municipal general election, April 7th. Man, it is coming up quick, just 6 weeks away.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost into March already, and then, like you said, April, right in the early part of April, we get that first election. So we've got a new challenger for the presiding commissioner.
But that's the general election coming
so that's
up in
later.
August.
Okay.
Right. First, I just wanted to remind people about your municipal election and the things on that ballot. You look at Camdenton, there's one challenger for Alderman Ward 2, Sandy Gentry, who's the incumbent. Billy Jeffries or William Jeffries will challenge. In Lake Ozark, Ward 2, Johnny Francesco's the incumbent. He'll be challenged by Tony Otto. But really, those are the only seats that will potentially change and are on the ballot. And then the big one is Osage Beach, right?
Yeah.
The mayor seat, incumbent Mayor Hermison. He's got two challengers. We know two local business owners, two business people, and of course, Richard Ross, who was an alderman for many years with the city of Osage Beach, and Angie Schuster. So it'll be interesting. And as we get closer to that election, just want to remind people that it's going to be here before we know it. You know, you need to make sure you know where your precinct is. Make sure you find out about the candidates. There should be some kind of candidate forum, and if not, we'll have kind of some exposés towards the end of March just to give you a closer look, especially those three mayoral candidates, right?
Yeah.
Of course, the incumbent and the two challengers. And then another one, Sunrise Beach. You know, normally just a few votes decide things in the village of Sunrise Beach. The police department's proposing a half-cent sales tax levy where that would directly go to the police department. And so that would be huge for them, and that is one that we are on board with, think would be be good and it would be valid for people in Sunrise Beach. Of course, all of that then leads to the primary election in August, and that's where you have so much on the ballot, and we'll start with presiding commissioner.
I get confused by all these, so you got an election in April. What is that all about? Municipal stuff.
Right.
But what falls into that? Well, the presiding commissioner apparently doesn't, so that falls back to August. Is that when that primary is? So, as you probably know, Ike Skelton has been the presiding commissioner for 4 years. There's been some rocky times, with that license plate reader thing that he had to deal with and all of that stuff. So,
but a big victory, and then recently, a little tensions brewing.
Yeah.
The three commissioners not necessarily on the same page, which is interesting timing. We had the budget situation, which the commission held Auditor Jimmy Laughlin, and they really worked through that. Still some questions surrounding that. And we've seen over the last few weeks within commission meetings and different topics, there are tensions growing within the commission slightly. And so we now see two new candidates throwing their name in the cap to challenge presiding commissioner Ike Skelton.
Yeah, well, one of them is Kathy Holstein-Campbell, and she posted on Facebook to all my Facebook friends and those of you have known me over the long haul, I am running for presiding commissioner of Camden County. And she went on to say in 2022, we wanted to drain the swamp. Here in Camden County, most voters were ready to oust Shady Hasty, is what she called him, and his corrupt policies that only benefited his cronies. I mean, she was pulling no punches when she wrote this. She said, we banked our votes on Todd Ike Skelton, a relative newcomer to Camden County's twisted politics, bringing a widely recognized name, albeit from a long-term Democratic congressman, to the stage. Riding on an errant name recognition and an anti-government stance, the new presiding commissioner promised a cleanup after 8 years of underhandedness and a return to good local governance. But she's not pleased with what she's seen from Ike. So apparently she's jumping into the mix. And I'm not familiar with Kathy, so I don't know. Is she pretty well known around here?
I'm not familiar either. She did announce that she is a Republican, and yeah, she absolutely went after presiding commissioner Skelton. That's not uncommon in election season. I mean, the deadline to file, the first day to file was Tuesday, the 24th, and so we anticipated seeing a lot of new names. So far, you have Kathy Holstein, and the other one that I saw floating yesterday on Facebook is Nick Cheryl, and if you look at his was probably a little more diplomatic or a little more polished, but he said, as someone raising a family here in Camden County, I care deeply about the future we're building together. That's why I'm announcing my candidacy for presiding commissioner. Camden County is more than a place on a map. It's our homes, our churches, our small businesses, our schools, and the lake that brings us together. It's where we work hard, raise our families, and invest in the next generation. I believe leadership should be steady, transparent, and respectful, focused less on division and more on doing the work that keeps our community strong. I'm running to support responsible growth, strong public safety, and thoughtful long-term planning that protects what makes Camden County special. No matter where you stand politically, I hope to build a campaign that listens first, leads calmly, and works for the good of the entire community. I'd be honored to earn your trust and your support in the months ahead. So completely different strategy than Holstein, right, by Cheryl here.
Well, it'll be interesting to get to know these people better. I mean, most of us know Ike fairly well because he's been in office for 4 years. We'll get to know this Nick Cheryl, is that it?
Yeah,
Nick Cheryl guy. And this Kathy Holstein-Campbell. And Kathy Campbell said, I'm a conservative, probably more along the lines of Kehoe than Eigel. And it's interesting because we know what that means now, right? Eigel was very conservative.
Yeah.
Kehoe won. He's kind of more of a moderate kind of a guy. So apparently that's where she's positioning herself there. But that's a big race, Camden County Presiding Commissioner.
Yeah, that's massive, and that'll draw the interest of tons, and you're going to see some division, right? Because a lot of people are going to have to put their vote maybe between two candidates they like, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And this is early, right? February 24th, first day to officially file with the state of Missouri. And then other things on the August ballot. This is big, right? You're going to have state representative Jeff Fernetti, who's the incumbent, probably been the most active rookie state representative in Missouri's history, and if not, certainly our district down here. You have other local state reps. I believe Don Mayhew's seat is up, and I've seen a couple of names already announced for that. But within Camden County, you look at the associate judge and circuit judge. I got confirmed by Roland Todd. I don't know of both seats, but I know one of these seats is up, and the associate judges are currently Heather Miller and Michael Gilley, both honorable. And then circuit judge Honorable Kenneth Hayden and Andrew Hardwick is who is listed on the Camden County website. Of course, we said presiding commissioner. That's Ike Skelton currently. County clerk is Roland Todd. Collector is Teresa Murray. Recorder is Donnie Snelling. Circuit clerk Kayla Henry. Prosecuting attorney Rochelle Christensen Grosvenor. And auditor Jimmy Laughlin. We've already seen Chris Franken and Madeline Kincaid throw their name in to run for auditor, which historically has not really been a highly contested seat or position within the county. So it'll be interesting. August 4th, 2026. You have to register by July 8th for that primary election, and the deadline for candidates to file, like we're probably going to see others. I don't believe that's the last of it. The deadline for candidates to file for the primary election is March 31st. So just a little over a month away from that deadline. And once that happens, we'll have a real clear idea of everybody that's running. But we wanted to keep you guys posted because especially with the municipal election in April 7th. That's like just around the corner.
Well, and in Camden County is so conservative, so Republican. If you win the Republican primary, I mean, you got a 98% chance of winning the general election. So really the big race is the primary race for Republican, and that's the first one in August.
Yeah, right? A lot of these rural areas, that's the case, and none truer than right here in Camden County. And speaking of Camden County, we saw this week, looked to be well, really, it was Friday or Saturday. We saw a press release from the city of Camdenton and the Camden County Commission, both that said, hey, we are partnering on, helping fund with MoDOT 50/50 for Highway 54.
And this is huge, too, for any of us that have driven 54 to get to 5, whether you're going north or south on 5, you go by Sips Coffee or Scooters there, or anything in that area, and it gets jammed up, whether it's summer, drive time in the afternoon, it just gets backed up a lot. So Camden County Commission and the city of Camdenton are apparently teaming up with the Department of Transportation to expedite an unfunded project in that area. So MoDOT, Central District Area Engineer Danny Roger, a friend of yours, presented both the commission and the city with a chance to enter a cost sharing agreement that would get improvements on that Route 54 area there, widening project near that Scooter Sips area to the northbound Highway 5 ramp, moving sooner to alleviate the heavy traffic there. Project had been expected to be included in the state funding, but that was taken off the board apparently by Governor Kehoe and put into a different pot. The commission tentatively agreed to put up $625,000 if the city matched that, with MoDOT taking care of the other half of the price tag up to about $2,500,000, I think. I mean,
total.
Pretty expensive. City gave its approval later that night, which will now put the project on the calendar to be approved by MoDOT sometime in June or July. So it looks like that is moving forward at this point.
Well, and that may not be the case. According to a Facebook post from Daniel Ousley, who's an alderman with the city of Camdenton, he posted over the weekend, I just wanted to put out there that there are a lot of fake news stories out there currently.
Wow.
The Camdenton Board of Aldermen has not voted to approve funding for this, and there won't be a vote until likely March 3rd, our next Board of Aldermen meeting. Don't read everything you read in the media, or don't believe everything you read in the media, or press release is from your local governments.
Interesting.
I reached out to Alderman Ousley, and he said it was very premature. The joint press release that was sent out, we didn't get any information on this. I don't necessarily know if this is the right for us to put up city funds, and this kind of got pushed, and so they haven't even voted on it. It was It was 5-1, 5 A's or yeses, and 1 abstaining, and that was Alderman Ousley saying, I don't know enough, I'm not going to vote on this. And so that was just for them to be able to put that on, I believe, the agenda and discuss and vote. And so he told me, you can tell it. He goes, I think that was premature. We have not voted on this. This isn't final. And he thinks that there should be more discussion and more looked into, because as excited as everybody is about improving Highway 54 and solving that issue of the congestion and the backed up traffic, knowing it's going to get worse this summer, I do think it's wise maybe to take a step back and say, hey, is everybody that the local constituents have elected to represent them and dig into this stuff, have they all looked into this and feel like, hey, this is a good use of our $625,000 at the city level, $625,000 at the county level? And I mean, that sounds like a fair partnership, but it does bring up some concerns that Alderman Daniel Owsley says, hey, not so fast. He goes, I think that's misleading. I'm not voting on this. And so not so sure that it's as final or is ready to take that next step with MoDOT voting on.
Right, it's not as far along as maybe the story would indicate. And I'm with you. I think it's better to be slower and safer on stuff like this than to get committed to something you didn't know everything about and it comes back to burn you. But I am excited about the possibility of alleviating some of that traffic problem in that area. That would be nice.
Yeah, and I don't know, being a state highway, whether or not that's standard.
Yeah.
I think that's a neat proposal for MoDOT to bring to them and say, we've got an opportunity to expedite this, and if it's a big enough issue and you think it will help your area, the city and the county can say, oh, absolutely. By investing that $625,000, that will allow for more traffic, more business, more tax revenue, more travelers. It may be worth it, but there's still some things it sounds like to be discussed.
Well, and with things coming like, the new theme park and all the big new developments that are happening, the mall development and everything, traffic's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
There's only going to be more and more and more traffic. They're going to have to deal with this at some point.
Yeah, and so in, siding on our error on the side of caution, you're almost like, do we miss the mark and end up the problem gets worse, or should we move quickly? But at least there's a proposal from MoDOT, and that discussion is being had. And of course, that next meeting we'll keep you posted on with the city of Camdenton, and reach out to our city of Camdenton leaders, mayor, city planner. They do a great job in communicating with us, so we'll absolutely do that. Hey, I saw Lake Expo put out what to do, Lake of the Ozarks residents, if you live lakeside, when the water is at its seasonal low, which is right now, right?
We're there, a lot of docks are on the ground because, most people at the Lake of the Ozarks know full pool in the summer is, I think, 660 feet above sea level, right? So that's like where the water is as high as it's going to go unless there's flooding. Well, as low as they want it to go, they can go lower if there's a problem, but they like the lowest to go is at 654 feet. So there's a 6-foot difference in the lake level there from the summer to like right now. So right now it's almost at its lowest level, right around 654 feet above sea level. And they've dropped it down since the start of the year in the last couple of months. At the start of the year, it was about 656, so they're about 2 feet below that. Ameren's guide curve indicates the lake will stay around 654 where it is right now. And then the levels start to go back up right in front of Memorial Day, right? So 2-3 weeks in front of Memorial Day weekend. That is the unofficial start of the boating season. That's when people start to flock to the lake. That's when they start raising it back up.
And you hear, like, when this happens, right, a lot of people, they might kind of be caught off guard, and it's kind of like scary. Well, there's also pros and cons, and that's one of the things about living at Lake of the Ozarks that you have to kind of know and prepare for and be ready for. And in that, there can also be it could be a great time to improve some things. And our friends at Lake Expo actually gave you 4 different things that you can do while it's at its annual or its seasonal low, Chris. And the first one is?
Yeah, well, of course, check your seawall. With the lake down 6 feet, the water goes back off your seawall. In the summer, the seawall is, the water is up against it all the time. Well, now you get a chance to go look at your seawall. Is it in good shape? Do I need to do some repairs on it? A lot of the seawalls are cracking and falling apart. You need to do something, or it's just going to fall down, basically. And then leading to that is their next step is putting in riprap. Riprap are those rocks that you put in front of your seawall, and it breaks up all those waves coming in, so it really protects your seawall, and it also protects your dock because the water, when it's going back out, is broken up by the riprap, so it helps coming in and going out. It's not cheap to do that, to put that rock in, but it's really good for your property.
It's also not cheap to have to replace your dock or seawall.
That's right.
And so I would highly recommend some of these things, look into, weigh your cost options of almost like a doctor. Absolutely. If I don't keep myself healthy? What's the cost of getting sick?
And those are normal maintenance things for a lake house. If you've got a lake house, you just kind of have to prepare to do those things, work on the dock, work on the seawall and stuff like that. And then, with the water low, you can work on your shoreline. So there's some things along the shoreline that you can't do if the water's always there, right?
Get trash, get plastic, all that stuff.
All that
Go
stuff.
down there, get that out,
Yeah.
And that's a great time to do that because you have access, with it right there. And the last one is they recommend an electrical check, which is so crucial.
That's huge, yeah, because, every once in a while you hear of deaths, because the electrical around the dock wasn't right, or it shorted out or something like that. We still got a lot of people at the lake that have extension cords running up and down the walkways and stuff. That's not smart, so yeah, get an electrician out there, check it, make sure it's all good, and this is a good time to do that when the water's down, obviously, because it just makes it easier to access.
Yeah, and a reminder from our friends at Ameren, Missouri, that if you ever do find yourself in a situation where you're in the Lake of the Ozarks and you feel a shock, swim away from the dock.
Yeah.
The absolute last thing you want to do is touch, while you're in the water, what is grounded and producing potentially that electricity. Swim away from the dock.
It's like that goes against, my first instinct would be to go toward the dock,
Correct.
Get to the ladder, climb out of the water, but they say, no, don't do that because that's going to make the, electrical shock worse. Just swim away.
Yeah.
Go to somebody else's dock maybe and, go up on there or, up on the shore somewhere over there. Stay away from the dock if you're feeling electricity. But again, that seems opposite of what my normal instinct would be to do.
All right, so hey, in our next local headline, a lot of people know this. We've got some local colleges down here at Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
The one that I proudly graduated from, State Fair Community
They're
College.
like the Fighting Ducks or something?
No, we're the Roadrunners.
Oh,
Beep,
the
beep.
Roadrunners, okay.
Come on. It may have taken me 9 years to get that degree, but listen, the Lake campus here for State Fair Community College is next level, and they just had a ribbon cutting.
Yeah, State Fair Community College hosting this ribbon cutting, February 13th?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? And completion of a new nursing program facility at the Osage Beach campus.
Yeah, they've had a lot of that where they can do some clinicals and stuff, but this new 1,200 square foot lab features 6 hospital beds, a fully equipped simulation room, and dedicated observation room where instructors can monitor and guide students during hands-on training exercise. Here's the big thing. They got a state-of-the-art simulation mannequin that is capable of mimicking real patient scenarios, allowing students the actual hands-on experience necessary. Pretty special. They can practice assessment, care, and clinical decisions, making it a safe, realistic setting. Pretty cool stuff. State Fair Community College nursing classes previously were at the Eldon Career Center, and they've moved to State Fair Community College Lake of the Ozarks campus, and really great option. They're set up that in a year, you'd essentially have your LPN, and then you would be able to go on in another short period of time to get your registered nurse credentials. So, this is great. You're seeing high school students get out of high school and go there within a year like they're workforce ready. And that's right here at the lake.
That's one of those careers that can get you set for life, right?
Absolutely.
You go in for that year, you get that nursing degree started and all of that. And I think there's still a great need for nurses,
CNAs, LPNs,
everything
RNs, nurse
around the country.
practitioners.
Yep.
No shortage.
So, there you go. If you're a young person or even an older person searching for a career, that might be a great option.
Yeah, check out State Fair Community College. And again, I apologize. Proudly, the Roadrunners.
Oh, not the Fighting Ducks.
No, the Roadrunners, and they're great, let me tell you.
Okay.
Shout out to Darren Paneer at State Fair Community College. Hey, our next local headline, a new baby box at Lake of the Ozarks could potentially provide a safe haven in a dire situation.
Yeah, so a new safe haven baby box coming to the Lake of the Ozarks this spring, apparently, where mothers who are unable or unwilling to care for babies up to 45 days old may place the baby where it'll be taken care of. Now, the box will be installed thanks to the help of generous donors in the area. State Rep. Jeff Ernetti helped spearhead the fundraising effort. So these safe haven baby boxes provide a secure, anonymous, and temperature-controlled environment for parents who are in crisis, who cannot take care of these newborns up to 45 days old in accordance with Missouri safe haven law. When a baby is placed in the box, an alert is immediately sent to first responders, right, ensuring prompt medical care. So the kid goes in the box. Immediately, first responders come and get the child. Representative Vernetti personally raised $16,000 in private donations. Donors include the Preserve at Sycamore Creek Apartments, Thomas Construction, Scott's Concrete. In addition, Thomas Construction committed to partnering to put in, do the construction part of putting these boxes in. He said, I heard about the amazing work Safe Haven is doing in Missouri and throughout the country, and felt that we needed to present residents of Camden County and the surrounding communities with this safe alternative to saving lives. That was Jeff Vernetti, the local rep.
Yeah, and it is going to be located at Mid-County Fire Protection District in Camdenton, and you hate to think that would be a need, but the fact that if it is, that there's this outlet to prevent a crazy tragedy is really great. And you see State Rep Bernetti along with some great businesses, Chad Nugent and Thomas Construction, Jane Martin and Scott's Concrete. Just incredible work when the community rallies. And like I said, you hate to see that kind of thing, but when there's a solution and a potential safety line, that could make all the difference.
Well, and you got young kids out there having babies, and in some situations, it's just too much for them, or they just cannot take care of the child. And in this case, there's an outlet there, and I don't know where it goes from there. I don't know if the child goes into the adoption process or if the parents have an opportunity to get them back. I'm not sure. But at least for the short term, the child is safe.
Yeah, check out Safe Haven Baby Boxes. Their website's pretty thorough, and it shows a lot. So if you're out there wondering, great resource there. Real quick, want to give a congrats to a couple of Camdenton Laker juniors. First, Kinsey Ruska on Thursday, February 19th versus Rockbridge. She's only a junior, scored her 1,000th career point.
Wow.
Want to congratulate her. And then we highly anticipate that it already happened maybe, but Thursday, February 26th versus California, Alan Pogue, who has been a scoring machine this year for the Lakers on the men's side, he's like a point away going into Thursday's game. So we want to congratulate Alan Pogue and Kinsey Ruska with the Camdenton Lakers programs. Two juniors hitting 1,000 career points. And while we're talking sports real quick, Sam Shoemaker inducted in the Bare Knuckle Hall of Fame. That
Another
was
buddy of yours,
this week. So just really cool, great representation. And if you haven't seen, Rob Harrelson, we talked about it last week, the guy, the 81-year-old man from Gravois trying out for the Savannah Bananas. He was actually Sam's boxing trainer.
Wow.
He was also his baseball coach in Little League and Babe Ruth growing up. So really cool ties there to the west side of the lake. And this is an event, as we're going to move into our last couple of stories, this is an event coming up that I'm not sure you're allowed to go to, but it's so much fun.
Okay.
Heroes of History is coming to the Exchange venue in Camdenton on March 5th at 6 p.m., and you don't want to miss this. They're talking incredible chili, fierce competition, and a packed house. This event fills up fast, so you're going to want to get tickets. General admission's $15, and we're talking about the Pregnancy Help Centers. And your chili cook-off. And if you think you want to go for $15 and taste, or if you think your chili has what it takes, contestants can pre-register for $25 or $30 the day of the event. But fair warning, competition spots go fast, so don't wait. They'll do Judge's Choice, People's Choice, Best Booth, plus there's a dessert auction, a raffle, and a chance to win some great prizes. Chili lovers, you want to know this, that the winning chili is going to be featured for an entire month at Redhead Lakeside Grill. That's right, your recipe, your name, all month long.
I'd like it to be featured at my house, in my kitchen. I love chili.
Mrs. Uncle C has filed a petition that you are not allowed to have chili.
I wouldn't doubt that.
But listen, the PHC Chili Cook-Off, it's Heroes of History at the Exchange venue in Camdenton on March 5th at 6 p.m. Nadine Kelsey does a great job with that event, and so make sure you reach out. You're running out of time, March 5th, so that's coming up quickly. And if you didn't sign up, again, for $30, show up with your chili that day, and you may have your chili featured at Redhead the rest of the season. Man. All right, so we're running out of time. Real quick, one more shout out to our friend Kathy Hickle for joining us this week and being a great supporter of us here at Lake TV. And we got to share. Our favorite scripture this week comes from the book of John 14:6. Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes through the Father but through me. That is John 14:6. And in a world full of uncertainty and many competing voices, Jesus makes a clear and comforting declaration. He does not merely show us the way, he is the way. So when we feel lost and confused and overwhelmed, Christ reminds us that our direction is found in a relationship with Him, not in circumstances or human wisdom. Today, my friends, you can walk confidently knowing that you don't have to figure everything out on your own. You can stay close to Jesus, trust Him, and the rest in the life that He so freely gives us. Isn't it a blessing to have that and to know that?
Big time. Major. Yeah.
Main thing's the main thing. And as we wrap up this week's Cup of Coffee, so good to have you back. Basketball season, it's done. Well, I guess it's time to start looking forward to football season.
Yeah, I've already sent you the schedule.
Can't wait. All right, my friends. Thanks for watching this week's Cup of Coffee from Slumberland at the Lake.